just want to welcome you to Three Chord Live. This is a combination of some amazing ministers or teachers, however you want to term us, where we talk about the grace of God, where we talk about the love of God, and just in an environment where there's freedom and we can just love one another, enjoy one another. Hi, Michelle. Welcome. This is a group of us. Let me just lift off some of our team. We have Michelle Brown on Mondays. Tammy Wilson comes on now and then. She's got a lot going on right now. Bill Thrasher on Tuesdays. Kyle Butler. Usually when it comes on, it's on Wednesdays. It's me on Wednesdays, Catherine Toome. Kyle Butler on Thursdays when he comes on. It's been a long day. And Derek Day on Fridays, Freedom Friday. Hi, hello. And then we have Mike Zenker who comes on intermittently. So happy to see everybody. So listen, we're going to talk about, this is at my husband's request because I was like, what am I going to talk about? And this is what my husband said. So I thought, dang, this is a good one. So I pulled out some trusty dusty resources and I'm going to share. Hi, Derek. I'm going to share from myself and my experience as well. Hopefully that'll make it a little bit more boots on the ground and more helpful and probably amusing. So I'm sorry. I'm in a really giddy mood right now. I seriously have done nothing but ate regular food and breathe regular air. But anyway, it sometimes hits me. Usually at really inappropriate moments, I have stories to tell. That might be a fun one to tell. But we are going to talk about building connection and resolving conflict, because how many of you know relationships are hard? They're not always hard, but they're frequently hard. And to have good relationships, yay, Derek's from London, woohoo! We are, we're just walking this out, right? And, we sometimes, even with our very best intentions, we hurt one another. It just happens. And so, how do we manage ourselves? And, how do we position ourselves, number one, to be successful and to build, oh my goodness, intimacy? Because remember, we're as one as he is one, and one in us, and him and us, and him and I, we're together in one, all that oneness stuff. Okay, so with that, what does that look like with practical boots on the ground stuff? And so I wanted to give you some real practical things. This is actually totally taken off Danny Silk's Keep Your Love On book. If you don't have that, get that book. It is an amazing book. It's one of those books where I have practically everything highlighted. It's so good. So I'm going to go through some of these things and then just kind of share from my personal experience as well, kind of what that looks like. And so, when things are going well and relationships go well, life is good. Life is fulfilling. Life is meaningful because we were created for relationship. And and usually what happens in the arena of relationships is that we've got two factors ultimately working. Okay, we have love and fear ultimately working. That's pretty much life in general, but boy, never more so in relationships. So am I going to relate to you out of a position of self-protection and hiding, or am I going to relate to you with openness, with boundaries, in love? And that's a choice, and people do hurt you. People have hurt me. I've been hurt a lot, and so have you. It's just kind of you're on the same planet I am, right? So let's talk about kind of some of our so our goal is for connection. Our goal is to move toward one another and keep our hearts open, as Danny Self puts it, keep our love on, right? Rather than closing our hearts and building distance, okay? And that can look like a lot of different things. So how do we foster that? Well, number one, communication's key. Any counselor you go to, anything you look up on the web is going to talk all about communicating. But communication is not easy, because if I'm authentically communicating with you, that means I'm vulnerable in some way, shape, or form. And so with that, particularly in our close relationships. And so the goal is to stay open, keep our hearts open, right? and communicate out of that place of openness. And they're just brilliant things that if you practice these things and the person you're in relationship practices these things, it's heaven on earth. It really is. Why? Because that's how you build trust. That's how you build true intimacy. And you know, sometimes it's just you practicing these things and someone else isn't participating. That's hard. But you know what? We were never called to love just the people who love us back, right? And where you have that kind of a dynamic, that's where you really need boundaries. So you can love people, but you also have boundaries. Boundaries, by the way, are not walls, okay? They're walls with doors and windows that you determine who you let in and what you let in and how that goes, okay? But it's not shutting yourself off. And a lot of times when people have been hurt, they shut down, they go on lockdown mode, and you know, and they are living isolated lives. And I've seen that played out in people in my own family, and they still are not at it. And it's very, very tragic. It's tragic because then you don't live a real life. You're kind of dead inside, but you're all walled off, and you know, true intimacy doesn't happen. And that's a lot of times, by the way, just to help you, where we get all sorts of addictions and compulsive, the porn industry. Hello. If people think this is just because people are hypersexualized or all that kind of stuff, and I'm not saying that that's not an issue, but it's really because you were intended to have real intimacy. And so, you know, porn is like fake food, you know what I mean? It feeds you, but not really, right? And you have to go back for more. So it's an addiction. So, you know, when people come to me with a porn problem, which is, oh my God, if it's a guy, and I'm not picking on you guys, but it's just the way you're wired, right? I mean, you know, that's what makes me so angry for you, because you are wired visually, right? That it's just a freaking setup, and it's such prey for people, and it just makes me angry on behalf of the guys, and it makes me angry on behalf of the ladies, some of whom who really also have porn problems, by the way. You do run into that, but not as much, and usually they are kind of the victims on the other end. There's victims on all sides, and so it is just a problem. So that may be a topic for another discussion, but we're talking about intimacy. And we're talking about a very real symptom of intimacy is just the unbridled porn stuff. And, you know, and the guys hate themselves and blah, blah, blah. It's just awful. And it's just, so another discussion. But let's talk about, hallelujah, a solution and ways to approach. How do I handle myself? Remember, you are empowered to handle yourself, your actions, attitudes, behaviors, reactions, decisions, and well-being. That's what God empowers you to do all day long, and you will need to pull upon the grace of God to do that. In terms of other people and their actions, attitudes, behaviors, reactions, decisions, and well-being, not your deal. You are never empowered to do that. When you take that on, you take on a God level weight, and that's why it feels so heavy when we take responsibility for people, because what we're saying is you're weak. You can't do this. You can't take responsibility for yourself. So I have to take responsibility for you. Really bad dynamic there. But we are responsible in terms of other people to love and honor people. And what that looks like is going to be different for every single person. So for your spouse, love and honor is going to look real different than for your kids, or for the President of the United States, whether you voted for him or not, you know, whatever, or for whoever it is. We are called to love and honor. Okay, this is just a little intro. This is all free, by the way, all that. Everything's free, actually, but now we're going to get into some meat about building a conflict-resistant connection, not conflict-free. If it's conflict-free, you're not living on the same planet I am. There's never going to be a conflict, okay? Something's happening where someone's not being authentic, because we're never going to see things completely eye to eye, but we can see a lot of things eye to eye. So I wanted to go over some core values and guidelines that you can take to heart and practice in connection with someone that you're in relationship with. This is someone you want to invest in, a friend, your spouse, whatever that is, okay? And these are guidelines to build healthy communication, okay? So this is really good. This would be actually worth jotting notes. Isn't it great that you can rewind? So if you have that, I would recommend it, and totally pick up Danny Silk's book, Keep Your Love On. I'm not getting a kickback on it. It's really good. But I'm going to outline some of his thoughts on that and then add just kind of my own tweaks on them. Okay. So your first goal, oh my goodness, this is so good right here. This is so good. In conversation is to understand one another. So that means my goal in conversing with you and working through conflict with you is to understand you, where you're coming from. Now, when you have two people who it's like, but I feel so misunderstood, I don't feel understood. And so they're out talking each other, and they're like, you know, when someone's talking, they're thinking of their response and their comeback, okay? And they're, well, yeah, but you don't understand me. Well, your goal is to understand them. And when you have two people whose goal is to understand one another, well, you know what? That's kind of, I think it's called submitting to one another in love. Like, so let me see things from your perspective here and help draw it out of people, okay? Wow, if you want a conflict to be totally like disempowered, okay, you seek to understand. It's like, oh, well, I thought you were going to tell me that I was, you know, a sinner and going to hell when I said there isn't a God or whatever, right? You know what I mean? No, I want to understand where you're coming from. Why? Because you're valuable and you have a voice and you have perspective. That's important, right? That's amazing right there. If that's the only thing that we focused on in this, that would do so much in the area of communication and relating to one another. The other thing is, now this is a good one, is that if people get disrespectful, like when the name calling happens, when the finger pointing happens, when the belittling happens, all of that kind of stuff, well, your response can say, well, in my heart of hearts, I don't participate in disrespectful conversations. I'm not disrespectful to you. And it's not okay that this is disrespectful right now. So when you can be respectful, we can continue this conversation. Okay, people don't like that. But you know what? They can't do anything about it. Why? You're not going to engage in a conversation that is disrespectful. Now that means you need to not be disrespectful, okay? And if you blow it, you say, oh, I'm sorry. You know what? That was really disrespectful. Forgive me. I'm so sorry. I just totally violated that, right? And they're like, okay, maybe I might let you live for a little longer. You know what I mean? So that's important. And that's another core value. Now, another core value is to communicate your true feelings. How do you really feel? And your true needs. You know what this does? This establishes trust and intimacy. So when I tell you, you know, when you said that, it made me feel really small. Okay, all right? It made me feel. That means I'm not saying you made me feel. I'm saying this is how I felt. Is I'm feeling that way. I'm communicating that to you. Now, if your goal is to understand, you're like, oh, wow, okay, how did that happen? Now, maybe it's because, you know, I grew up being made to feel small or something. And maybe it's a trigger. Maybe it's my own crap. But I'm really communicating what's going on with you. And I can say, listen, I know this is my own trigger, but when you said that, it really triggered me. And this is why you're having this response from me, and I'm going to get the help I need to help me with my trigger. But that's how I felt. That's my true, authentic feeling, right? And then this is what I need from you. If you want to have a helpful place in a conversation, ask someone, what do you need right now? Wow. Well, I just need to be heard. Oh, well, yeah, I'm so sorry. I haven't been listening very well, right? So tell me again, I'm sorry, I don't always get it, but I really want to know. What is it that you're needing? What is it that you're feeling, right? What do you need right now? I need space. A lot of times people will need just to vent, and they're not looking for solutions. That's a lot of ladies out there just need to vent. They're not looking for solutions, guys, and you guys are fix it. Isn't that admirable and awesome of you? But they just want to let it all out and be heard. And man, if they're understood, it's awesome. And usually they figure it out for themselves. Yeah. Okay. And next one, the best way to communicate feelings and needs is to use I messages. That means I feel this way. I need this, right? Instead of you make me feel this way, okay? That's not helpful. But you can say, when you said this, when you did this, I felt this way. And so you're just saying, this is how I felt. I'm owning how I feel, and I'm telling you what I need, okay? So making very specific statements about what you're feeling and experiencing. And you can even say, you know, listen, this is a big trigger for me. So I recognize that, you know what, I need some healing here and I need some growth here. But this is where I'm at right now. And this is why you got the response from me that you got. Okay. And that helps people understand you. Another thing, another core value is that in a conflict, okay, you're not going to make judgment statements or tell you how the other person has to change in order to meet your needs, right? So if you would just do this, I would be okay. Well, that's not helpful, okay, right? So if you're saying, you know what, when you do this, you know, you're just such a critical jerk. Well, you know what, that's not helpful. That's not going to empower them not to be critical, okay? So when we make judgment statements, what do people do? They don't go for connection. They get defensive and they shut down, right? So I'm not going to make judgment statements about you, judging, well, this is that you're always this way and you're never this way. This always and never is just a really bad idea, okay? You know, you have to, but we can, you know, if someone offers and says, is there something I could do? Well, then you can tell them. But listen, they're not responsible for you. Remember, you're responsible for your actions, attitudes, behaviors, reactions, decisions, and well-being. That means how you're responding inside. That is up to you. People can influence you, but you're responsible for how you respond. And that's where you are powerful. You know, powerless people say, well, you're totally responsible for how I feel. Well, does that make you powerful? No, that makes you a victim, right? And you're not a victim. And you're not responsible for other people feel. That doesn't mean that we stomp on one another, but I recognize that you are powerful in the place of, wow, that really hurt me. What's going on there? What lie am I believing that's making me feel small or insignificant or whatever? And then when your partner, whatever, communicates your needs to you, your job is to listen so you can understand. You can understand how your life is affecting your spouse, and we do affect one another. It's not that we're responsible for them or they're responsible for us, but we do impact one another, right? That's your job, is to try to understand. And then in your heart of hearts, that your goal in all of this is to be committed to protecting and nurturing connection. This is why when you are in a fight with your spouse, don't bring up the stinking D word, especially if you don't mean it, okay? You know what? It's like we are there to nurture connection. So I may be like, okay, I'm seeing red right now, and I want to spit in your face and pull out your gizzard right now, but I'm going to use some, oh my goodness, self-control. Okay. And, you know, self-control may even look like, I am so angry right now. I am not confident that I'm going to handle this well. I need some time to work this out. And why don't we reconvene tomorrow night or something? Give people when you're coming, don't just leave. Okay. That's not helpful, but it's like, I am having such a hard time with my emotions right now. I'm really afraid that I'm going to do something to harm connection. And I don't want to do that. So I need a break. So I will be back in 2 hours. Okay. And that way they know, okay, they're not like, well, they're going to go, to the bar, or they're going to get drunk, or they're going to drive around. They're going to find someone else and pick them up, just stupid, like hello drama, like just say no. Right. So, right. But you can say, I'm so mad right now. I'm not seeing straight and I'm not trusting myself. And that's okay, because what are you doing? You are guarding connection. You're protecting the heart of the other person, and you're saying, you know what, so I need some space in order to do that, but I will be back, and then come back. Okay. So if you said I'm going to be back in 2 hours, and say, if you can't, say it's like, I'm sorry, honey, I am still so I'm just so mad right now. I can't. So I'm going to delay a little longer. Give me another hour, something like that. So at least that you're checking in and they're getting the message, wow, they're really upset. And they care enough about me that, you know, they're doing what they need to do to get some self-control going. And then we're going to come back together, and then you need to follow through and come back together and practice some of these principles. And you're not going to do it perfectly, okay? But people know when you're committed to protecting connection and nurturing connection, right? So that you're doing what you need to do to keep your heart open, to keep moving toward the person instead of backing away from the person. It's that whole concept of love versus fear. You hurt me, so I'm never going to let you in my heart again. Well, now, let me just be really clear. Sometimes there are times when you really do need boundaries, okay? Because people are toxic, or maybe you are simply fragile. And that's now, if you're fragile, that doesn't mean you put up a wall and stay behind there the rest of your life, okay? No, that means you work on your crap, okay? On your fragile, and get that healed up. Well, you've got healthy boundaries. And so healthy boundaries can mean, you know what, listen, I'm not available. I'm just taking some time out. I need some time, but I will come back, okay? But I need some time. Or, you know what, a boundary is, you know what, this discussion is really disrespectful right now. So, you know what, we're going to come back when we can both be respectful. And then they can explode, they can do whatever, they can flow a tizzy, whatever. And let me give you a brilliant thing. Oh my goodness, I don't remember, I'm sure I didn't discover this. But if someone, say you're setting a boundary and someone is freaking out on you, like, you know, they're calling you every name in the book, the F-bombs are flying, the fingers are flying, you know, whatever, you know, it's all pretty, right? And they are just throwing a tizzy. Well, all you need to say is really simple. When it's a healthy boundary, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you feel that way. And pretty soon they learn that that's all they're going to get from you. So, you know, no matter how they stand on your head and what they throw, whatever, I'm sorry you feel that way. And we're going to be done until you can be respectful, right? And you can train a toxic person to be like, okay, they may not like come at it with, oh, my goal is to protect connection and protect your heart, okay? But they will learn when it comes to you, that doesn't go down in my world. And you determine how other people treat you, okay? So, you know, that's if you want more of that, I actually have on YouTube a whole series on boundaries that you can look at that will help you with that if that's an issue. But the whole goal of having those boundaries is that I'm preserving connection, but I'm saying how it's going to roll, because there's things that you've not shown me that are trustworthy, right? That's a trust issue. So remember, when you forgive someone, which we're mandated to do, it's for your sake, okay? To reconcile is for their sake, right? And if that's what you're feeling led to do, well, there may need to be some boundaries while you're reconciling, and it will take time to rebuild trust. But you gotta make sure that you really do forgive, and that may be an ongoing issue. Because if you're real bitter towards that person, you know, they can stand on their head for the rest of their life, and you will throw it in their face, whatever they did to hurt you. Okay, so that's not reconciliation, that's not trust, and that's not forgiveness. But that is saying, you know what, show me that I can trust you with my heart, right? And that's where we really need to work on dealing with our own stuff. And we all have it, let's be very clear. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful for you in terms of just learning how to build connection, how to resolve conflicts, some healthy strategies. You know, even if you just take one or two of these and practice, and then maybe go back and take another one and practice, you will find your relationships will get better and better. And it's amazing when you have two people practicing this. Oh my God, it can really be such heaven on earth, because you've got people owning their crap, and you've got people that are so close because they've learned they can trust one another, and they've had to work through stuff, and they've done it successfully. And you can come back from some horrendous nightmare stuff in relationships with amazing upgraded relationships and amazing intimacy. Yes, it can happen as you apply these kind of things. Anyway, I hope this has been a blessing for you today. Share this with someone who needs it. All right. Love you guys. Bye.